Welcome, everyone. Hello. We're very excited to present today our 87th Salon, honoring the gifts of foremothers in these perilous times with Vicki Noble and Areeya Marie Sharpe, hosted by Genevieve Vaughan and the International Feminists for a Gift Economy. I'm Letitia Layson, your moderator. Well, one of the things that's very special for me, I'm outing us, but Areeya, Vicki, Genevieve, and I are four women who actually support energetically Areeya, who is the resident priestess at the Sekhmet Temple. And it's been both a pleasure to do that work together and also a delight to come to know each one of them more deeply and call them my friends. Some of you who don't know Vicki Noble, she is a feminist writer, a teacher, an independent scholar, a co-creator of the round feminist Mother Peace Tarot cards, and the author of Mother Peace, A Way to the Goddess, Shakti Woman, Feeling Our Fire, Healing Our World, and the Double Goddess, Women Sharing Power. Her books are published in numerous languages, and for decades, she traveled and taught internationally with a focus on women's history and goddess spirituality. She's been active in the international matriarchal studies and maternal gift economy movements for decades now. She is at home in Santa Cruz, California, is a professional astrologer, as well as facilitating private intensive tutorials and Mother Peace certification courses. We welcome Vicki Noble. I'm going to read a shortened bio for Areeya. Her more extended bio you'll be able to find at our website. Areeya, as I said earlier, is our resident priestess. You can see in her screen on the background, she's outside on the land itself, so it's just beautiful there. She's been a devotee of Sekhmet. She also has a Lohan Nagmo practitioner and medical Qigong student. Areeya enjoys documenting and perpetuating the arts of sanctuary while visiting and serving Buddhist Sangha, earth-centered goddess temples, and sacred art communities established and yet to be established around the world. Since January 2021, Areeya has been at the Temple of Goddess Spirituality dedicated to Sekhmet in Cactus Springs, Nevada. She's currently the presiding priestess at the temple, living in an experiment of maternal gifting, honoring Genevieve's wondrous offering to the world, a temple perpetuating goddess spirituality, peace activism, and the maternal gift economy. You can find Areeya most often singing and co-creating ceremony, playing an instrument, creating altars, and practicing Qigong. We welcome Areeya. So welcome both of you. And Vicki, I'm going to turn the mic over to you. Welcome, and thank you so much for being with us in this special, very special day.
Yes, thank you so much, Letitia. Thanks, everybody. It is a very sacred time, and that's what I thought I would focus on today. I wanted to give sort of a background of the wheel of life, and I'm going to show you some images from PowerPoint that I used in a course I taught a couple years ago on the life and work of Maria Gimbutas. And this was one module that I taught from. And I'm not going to do the whole thing because it took 2 hours, but I will share some images with you just to give you a kind of an overview of how I look at the wheel of the year. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is an image from a woman from Chile who was, when I met her very young, decades ago, Mariela de la Paz, and she was making a Mapuche tarot deck, and this was the moon card from that deck, and she gave it to me as a gift. And what I want to talk about is the great eight, the 8-point calendar that we practice the goddess holidays from. But I want to really stress that it's a structure in a general way that's found on every continent, found all over the world. And I believe that it comes from our most ancient times as modern humans 200,000 years ago in Africa. And that when we came out of Africa, everybody came out of Africa. I presume everybody knows that now. And we went all over the world and populated the continents. And this structure, in my opinion, this is my theory. It's not. I don't know who else believes it, but I believe that it came with us, and that it's the underlying structure that indigenous people and matriarchal cultures that have survived still honor in some way. They may not call the days what we call them. They may not use the same imagery, but these 8 points are the 8 phases of the moon. I'll talk more about that. And so what we're really looking back at then is the ancestral female from whom we all evolved. And this image on the left, the Venus of La Selle, you may be familiar with her. She's a European image. A lot of these are, because so much of the artwork in the Paleolithic is what has been studied and revealed in our culture. But some of the things they found in old Europe, and even before the culture of old Europe, like this calendar bone in the middle of this slide. The calendars are some of the earliest representations. Well, they last a long time because they're bone or stone, and we still have the imagery and the symbolism. So this one's from France, 25, 30,000 years ago, maybe even more. But they've also found calendars in Africa from the same time period, made out of a baboon bone, a baboon fibula. And apparently the bush people, the in the Kalahari, still keep track of the lunar cycles on bones that they carry, on sticks that they carry. So this is just a way of saying that the great mother concept, the great mother as a metaphor for the earth and the abundance and life on earth. The great mother is our image that those of us in women's spirituality picked up on in the 70s and started to create our own religion. And we've been practicing and teaching ever since. So this is some of that. Here's a menstrual calendar. It was Alexander Marshak who named these as lunar menstrual calendars. Before that, the archaeologists had said they were doodles, accidental marks on bones, And Alexander Marshak did microscopic research that showed that someone was keeping time in, like I say, 30 or 40,000 years ago. And this is an example of that, one of those calendars. He said they were shamans. He's a really interesting scholar, like so many of them. He said on the one hand, these are menstrual calendar bones, which was absolutely radical. No one had said that. And then he said the shaman who carried the menstrual, So we all have our blind spots. And so one of the things I like to look at is the vulva and the female iconography from such ancient times. This is a bonobo on the left, and The primatologists are now saying that we are most closely related to the bonobos, which is wonderful because they are matriarchal. And a lot of my work is, the point of my work is to show that we've been matriarchal since the beginning of becoming human. And so we've established forms of social organization that came out of the earliest times in our evolution. And the vulva is the oldest symbol, and it's the most pervasive, the most widespread. It's everywhere. It's everywhere on the planet that people have carved and incised and painted, and in whatever way they could have showed the vulva as the signifier of the Great Mother. It's like a code. This is an image, Laja Gauri, from India, from a temple where some of the goddess worship has continued even up to today in the tantric practices. These are some more examples of really ancient imagery that involves the female body, and particularly the female genitalia. These are temples in Malta. These are sketches of temples in Malta, where the whole temple is built in the shape of a woman's body, and you enter through her vagina. And then these are chamber tombs a little bit later. And I don't have any pictures, but you probably know that cathedrals then were built in the same sense. It was after patriarchy happened. I'm going quickly because I have a lot of slides and I don't want to go over my time, but this is a site called Lipinski Vir. It's a very old site along the Danube, one of the earliest, and it's transitional in the sense that there were hunter-gatherers there, or fisher-gatherers, and, and then European farmers who had come first of all from Anatolia. Anatolia is the land of the mothers, and we now call it Turkey. Those people had migrated to Greece in the 7th millennium, and then a lot of them went from Greece up to, in the north, to the Danube River. And this is one of the original sites where that mixing happened. And this is a very ancient Shila-na-gig, if we use the language of the archaeologists who've studied the Shila-na-gigs in Britain. But she's from, 8,000 years ago. So, but you see how she has bird hands, claws of some kind, and she's holding open her vulva. So she's showing us, and this is a picture of the original site. This is an archaeological photo that was taken of the triangular shape, the vulva-shaped huts or structures that were at that site. And then I found out, and then on the day of the day we were there with Joan Marler and the Archaeomythology Institute people, the archaeologists were showing us some new finds, and this old man came to the place where we were meeting. He came from the village and brought a loaf of bread that had been baked that morning. And I looked at that bread. I had been doing Tibetan Dakini practices, mandala practices, for about 10 years by then. And when I looked at that bread, I said, what is a Tibetan mandala doing in old Europe 8,000 years ago? And it was like an epiphany, and it started me on a whole journey of finding this mandala structure everywhere. Everywhere I looked, there it was. And so it has expanded in terms of my understanding, and it's still expanding. I still don't know all the places where there are mandalas, but I find them all the time. Here's an example. This shape. Well, let's start with the center one. This is a fire pit in the courtyard of a temple in Kathmandu in Nepal, and it was on the it was on the ground, just like the the guy in Crete, is showing us this same symbolism, same shape, same exact glyph in Crete, you know, so many thousands of miles apart, that it really is amazing. This one in the center, we were told, was a fire pit for the goddess Ajima. She's the pre-Buddhist grandmother goddess of Nepal. And this one, identical, basically, is Chacana, the goddess from Argentina. And the native people have kept that symbolism. I don't have one on this page, but in Peru, they call it the Inca cross. And of course, the Incas were imperialists who came in and unified the cultures. And so it's not really Inca, it's just ancient Peruvian. And here's what we're looking at when we're looking at the mandala, at the 8-point calendar. One thing I want to say about Lipinski-Vir, later one of my Italian students brought me a book from the archaeological museum in Serbia, where Lipinski-Vir is. And the archaeologist who wrote the book said the whole site was laid out as an 8-point calendar. Now, she thought it was a calendar for the sun god and that it was about Jesus, which is 8,000 years too early. But anyway, she made the point that the site was laid out as an 8-point calendar, and that was very meaningful for me, obviously. So when we're looking at the phases of the moon, you all know the new moon is dark, right? And there's no moon in the sky. And then the moon waxes out away from the sun and all the way to the full moon 2 weeks later. So we're looking at the most darkness and then the most light in the course of each lunar month. And then when the moon comes all the way back and wanes to the balsamic and back to the new moon, it's not a static form, because each new moon is in a new sign of the zodiac. And so it's like a magical spiral, a dance of the sun and the moon and the earth that never ends, never ceases. And that's why so many of the ancient people that we have written sources for talked about the eternal return. Pagans talk about the eternal return, and about winter solstice being the moment. It's just like the new moon, when it's so dark that we hardly have any daylight hours. And then when you go all the way through the course of the year, so the new moon phase would be the winter solstice, and then Candlemas or Imbolc is the crescent phase, and the spring equinox is when we see a half moon in the sky, is the the first quarter of the year, and so on. The gibbous and the full moon, it's Beltane and the summer solstice, and then we wane, Lammas in August, the fall equinox in September, Hallowmas, where we are right now. So I wanted to contextualize what we're really looking at and feeling and responding to when we celebrate these holidays. So we're celebrating Hallowmas, All Hallows Eve last night. The holiday started in Ireland. It was called Samhain. So a lot of pagan women and goddess women call it Samhain still. And it's the opening into the dark of winter. And so we're on our way now. We know we're going into the dark, and then back to the winter solstice again. And then coming out of winter solstice, Candlemas to me has always been the other side of that doorway. Hallowmas, we go in winter solstice, we're in the deepest moment. And then by Candlemas, there's what they call a quickening, an awakening of the life force energies again, and a new start to a new year. And I want to read a little quote I pulled that has to do with how Tibetans view this template, which they call the great wheel of natural law. This is natural law happening. This is what we've separated ourselves from in this culture. And so it's terribly important, I think, for us to come back into some sort of alignment and harmony with these cycles. That there's always, as Gimbuta said, there's the birth, the death, and the regeneration, constant regeneration. And I think it celebrates the kind of regenerative capacities that exist on the earth and in our bodies and in our minds, and that we're capable of always being reborn and finding new light, new energy, new hope, even in a dark time. We're in a pretty dark time right now, so it's good to hold on to that deep, ancient understanding of how things work here on the earth, how things work for us. So as humans, if we can stay aligned with these cycles, we're in much better health and much better positive energy. And so here's what the Tibetans, this is one way that the Tibetans think about it. All things are impermanent. They arise and they pass away. To be in harmony with this truth brings great happiness. I mean, isn't that simple? So I sort of try to live by that and try to remember that. And the thing about these holidays, just like the lunar phases, is that they're not abstract. They're not. It's not a construct. We experience them, and they impact us, whether we believe in it or not, whether we even have any understanding or any knowledge of the holidays. Before I knew about the holidays, I was having extremely important psychic and spiritual openings at those times, and I was always documenting my experiences. And then when I learned about the holidays, it was incredible, because I went back to my journals, and I'd had these very dramatic awakenings at the holiday moments. So they are real, and they're power points in the course of the year. And that's why they say about Hallowmas in particular, I think, that it has such potency. The veil is so thin that we are in contact with the other side, whether we want to be or not. And what we do with that is up to us. And so all the celebrations that goddess women and pagans and people around the world do at this time, in the Northern Hemisphere, I should say. In the Southern Hemisphere, of course, they're having the opposite holiday. So we're having Hallowmas in Chile, in Australia. They're having Beltane, May Day. And that's very important. We're not, everything is happening where we are, here and now. And these are just some beautiful images of places where you can really see how ancient people understood the importance, how crucial it is to be aligned with these time periods and these really powerful holidays, and the mandala structure itself. And so you see it here. This is Newgrange. Newgrange, the sun comes in on winter solstice and goes back and hits the back of the structure and the altar. And people are so thrilled with that. This is in Ireland on the Boyne River. They're so thrilled with it that they have to have a lottery now in Ireland because they all want to get inside on the winter solstice and experience the phenomenon. These are just other places, Germany, Poland. These are very ancient images of what we would call a sacred circle. Um, oh, here, this is me and Jennifer Berzan in Ireland in the 90s. And here's the window. You can see there's this big, beautiful stone that I'm sure you've seen that it has carvings of spirals. But here's the window where the light comes in. You know, it's very small. It has to be very precise. And it happens on the winter solstice. And in other places, it happens on the equinoxes. And you know, it's just all these different stone circles and medicine wheels and all the different earthworks all over the world that we've seen and studied, some of us. They all have this structure, the mandala structure, and they align with different points in the course of the year. I found out recently that the Koranovo culture, where I had been, this picture on the left is the strata that you see at the Koranovo Hotel, where archaeologists have been working for many, many years to uncover all the layers. And they built again and again in the same place. That's what a tell is. It's a buildup of old sites. And I learned recently that the Koranovo culture was also laid out as a mandala. And I never knew that in all these years of studying old Europe. So I just think it's thrilling and amazing and more amazing all the time. Just for your info, here's the Black Sea. And so the Koranovo culture was right around here in the west of the Black Sea. And oh yeah, right there. And it was one of the first places where the Indo-European patriarchal people came in and destroyed it. The first wave, what Gimbutas called the Kurgan waves of invasion. And you know, she had to fight for that. I mean, she made that theory in the 50s, just strictly from her archaeology. And by 2015, they finally had DNA research that showed, yeah, it was exactly like that, just what she said. But now they can show it through DNA studies, which makes it a little bit more undebatable. And this is Malta. If you don't know about Malta, you must. It's a really important site. It's an island, two islands really. It's Malta and Gozo. And the reason I pulled it up in this slideshow is because when I was first there with Jennifer in the early 90s, we were able to touch everything and be, you know, now it's all tented and protected and fenced off. But this is the Menidra temple, and this is just a big stone that's carved with what I thought looked like a lunar calendar. And I got pretty excited and took these pictures. And of course, it turns out to be not only a lunar calendar, but now they say it's an extremely complex calendar that also tracks the cycles of Venus as well as the moon and who knows what else. You know, it takes the mainstream archaeologists and historians a long time to integrate these things and believe them enough to study them. And then they find out there's all this complexity that they never attributed to these ancient cultures. They always think progress, you know, so ancient is crude and undeveloped, and modern is, you know, the pinnacle. And it's just the opposite. You know, we're highly evolved civilization of the goddess, as Maria Gimbutas called it. And I think Malta probably was created, the things that were created on Malta, all the temples in the shape of a woman, remember, that those were refugee people, because Çatalhöyük has a lot of imagery Çatalhöyük is in Turkey, 7th millennium, and then Malta, thousands of years later. So remember, people from Çatalhöyük, or that culture, ended up in Greece, ended up in old Europe, that eventually they had to leave old Europe because of the invasions. And so then Malta looks to me to be a place of refuge, a temporary one for 1500 years or something like that. Here are some temples in Malta. This is Gigantia down here on the left, the oldest one so far. And this beautiful structure on the left is from, I believe, Hajar Im. They're all beautiful temples. Malta is such a small island, it's just covered with these ancient goddess ruins. And here's Malta on fall equinox. It happens on the spring and the fall equinoxes. Here's the sun, bam, coming into the temple, coming in through the doorway and hitting the altar on the fall equinox, on the equinoxes. These are miracles, and they're not treated as such by most of the scholars, but it's getting better. They're starting to put it together. And I've always been very interested in the whole thing. There used to be all these books written by really interesting male scholars, independent scholars, mostly in Britain, about the ley lines, the terrestrial powers, and then the celestial powers, all the alignments of these places. But all these books came out separately, and they were all, like specialized. And I've always been really keen to know, like, here's a high priestess or a goddess. What's happening, the whole thing? What's happening with the whole thing on the holiday? Maybe there's a full moon. The rocks hold their repositories of energy. Our bodies are repositories of energy. So the site is potent, the time is potent. It's like time and space coming together in magical ways at these holidays, because they were the sites, the earthworks were designed for that purpose by a very sophisticated people. So, I started being interested in these things in the 1970s, and it doesn't get less interesting. It just opens more and more and more into such magic, just there's so much magic, and the holidays continue to really show me that, and really, really come through me that way. And I just wanted to say about, I know that Areeya will talk more broadly about how people around the world celebrate the holidays, and this holiday in particular. But I just wanted to point out that so much of the themes in this country, the way that Halloween has been unfortunately commercialized, but in very interesting ways these days, because of the influence of paganism and the goddess religion, that there are so many references to witches. I mean, Instagram was just full last week of references to witches, and witches in their hats, and they're paddling out. They did that in Santa Cruz for many years. The witches get in their costumes and they paddle out on paddle boards, standing up in the water, with and you see these silhouettes of witches celebrating Halloween. And now I saw lots of posts last week on Instagram from different places. So this is a phenomenon that has caught on. I think it started here, but I'm not sure. And the ways that, well, I wanted to share one, I wanted to share a lot of things that, which they called her witch to bury her. Stella Porta says on Instagram, they called her witch to bury her. Her name was burned, her rights outlawed, an empire built on her silence. But she is older than their altars. And every time a woman speaks her truth, the witch rises again. I like things like that. It's like it's in our memory. We were matriarchal for 200,000 years at least. We were matriarchal since the beginning. And we hitched our fertility cycles, our menstrual cycle to the moon. No other animal has done that. That's us. And I think of it as the as above, so below, her body, my body, that we women, not individually, but as a collective, we hold the connection to the Great Mother in that way. We, through our reproductive cycle, women all over the world bleed. I know women are not universally the same all over the world, of course. We're all really different, but we all bleed. I mean, if things are going appropriately. And so I have loads of things like that from looking at the ways that younger women now, I mean, I've been doing this work for 50 years, and it's really great to see so many younger women becoming goddess worshipers again, or becoming interested in matriarchy and in the Great Mother and in these holidays and in paganism and so on. And so I think I'll stop there, but there's so much more, needless to say, and I'm really happy to be able to share this very special day with all of you.
Thank you, Vicki. Yes, there is so much more. And we always love to have you, and we hope to have you back again to share more of your wisdom and knowledge. And for those of you who are viewing either the recording and today with us, check out Vicki's website, because she offers wonderful classes, and you can find more of her there. So with that, let's just switch our channel to the outdoors area. And Areeya is inviting all the elements in for us in a very direct way. So Areeya, I'm going to hand the mic off to you. Welcome, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Letty. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever in this wonderful Mother Earth you find yourself. And blessed celebration of life and the life cycles. And the word ancestors, how that actually, when you say the word ancestors, in the language that you were cultivated, what is the vibration? So I just invite you to take a moment. Thank you so much, Vicki. The temples and the altars lit with the sun, and thank you for that really beautiful wheel, right, of understanding that we're talking about these cycles through the moon and the season, and how our bodies pulse with that. And here at the temple, we had 3 wonderful ancestor ceremonies. One that was more focused on the moon aspect. And so some of our maestras, my living ancestors, so my teachers, alighting and then landing and saying, this is how we're going to really say thank you. Thank you to our ancestors with the moon, in this full moon, with the fullness of who we are. And sometimes it feels really dark, and sometimes it feels really tickly, and sometimes it feels as you're going through the process of honoring, of just trying to say gratitude to the ones that provided this, right? So here you could think in the temple, the chrysalis, the womb, the cradle, and the waters of life, right? That's a part of the primary focus, is the pulsation of life, the honoring of the sacred waters, the sacred blood, that the resonance between our blood right? The infinite knowledge of water, the timelessness of it that speaks to the circadian rhythm rather than the current calendar utilized in the West. So, in the 3 ceremonies, we honored the fullness of our ability to say thank you with composting, understanding composting, understanding composting. We're offering, because this is offering whatever it is with our ancestors, whatever the connection is. What brought you here tonight is the question that is asked. What found your footsteps an hour away outside of town at the house of the goddess to say thank you to your ancestors? So rhythm, sound, the hummingbird that's saying hello right now to y'all. And for us here, that's symbolizes a particular ancestor in relations to a wonderful medicine man of the Western Shoshone and his teachings of water, air, and land. So if we're honoring in fullness, we have these beautiful bodies that sing and speak. What is the heart song? That is the offering. That is you. That is your ancestors. Whether it is the ancestors before you or the ones to come, right? So what does ancestors mean? Vicki, I would like to have a conversation one day on just that. What people think, what is ancestor to you? For me, it's the song and the smile of Vicki Noble right this moment. It's how Genevieve is sitting there and this thought process, right? Ancestoring with every motion, every moment, every breath. Wow, these bodies are brilliant in a time that is the moon, the phase, it's in the deepest, going into that deepest night. People looking around, okay, where's my light? And tense. But the vibration and the sound allows an exhale that is I feel in this being's experiential phenomenon. It is the song of our sound as a people, our sound as a being. It is individual. Okay, my mother, my father, this grandmother, the wonderful lands, the loam that the ancestors, our people that we came from, where was it? What was the nutrient denseness of that land? What was the beauty? What was the horror? Right? These perilous times. They have perilous times. We have perilous times. They're always around. Did you notice that? In a different way. So with fullness, we honored beauty and the beast, the wholeness of what our ideas we think is ancestor. We're here to say thank you, mother. Thank you, father. Thank you, grandfather. Thank you to the lands. Thank you to the waters. If it sounds roundabout, it's because what I'm winding into, ancestry, this Mother Earth. Here it begins with this Mother Earth. The pulsation of all the living things. The life bearer. The materials of bearing life. And these beautiful women. These beautiful grandmothers. These goddesses. And the absolute brilliance of these bodies. The ancestral knowledge that we take one time a year. Unless somebody transfers consciousness, we take one time a year and we're like, hey, we say thank you. Specifically, right? Whereas that circling, that spiraling, that dance of movement of the stars in the skies we experience every day when we're not within our little boxes and cubicles. We reach the breath of sound and space with the rhythm of the lands that says, thank you, Mother. Thank you, Mother. Thank you. Thank you, life bearer. Thank you for these cycles of life, death, and regeneration. And so I say thank you to my grandmothers. I say thank you with my grandfathers. I say thank you with all of the living things, the creeping, crawling things, the slithering things, the feathered beings, ancestry. So ancestry is a really large pot here. It's a juicy stew in a time that is moving into a little bit, I like to think, easeful pace to allow stillness to come in so that the honoring with these ancestors, we can hear. When we take the moments of stillness, our waters sing to us. Is it possible that that song in the stillness, in the dark of Hallows, that song comes from your bones, comes from the light shine within, which is your ancestors, which is in connection with my ancestors, which is in connection with this Mother Earth and the rhythms, how she breathes and moves. So this is a little more poetic introduction of ancestry, because we have very hard ideas of what ancestors is. Oh, I say thank you, ancestors, here. Oh, we did this. Oh my gosh, my family. Okay, I whip it. I'm sorry we did that. What? Why would we, we're gonna beat ourselves for what our ancestors did rather than offer joy for what they offered, how they could offer, and their exquisite, beautiful love of seeing you, each one of you, all of us, do what we do, how we shine here and now. So many more seasons, right? The seasoning of our bloodlines, the ripening, your children, your grandchildren. So thank you with the fullness of seeing ancestry with all its beauty, with all its horror, and saying thank you to the texture and fabric of life, the real minerals, the real plasma, in that soup of being. Ancestors, thank you. Thank you for yesterday. Thank you for tomorrow. And thank every one of you for speaking with the bloodlines, with the mother indigenosity of the mother lineage. The womb, the chrysalis, from the tomb to the womb, from the womb to the tomb, the cycles of regeneration. So I invite you perhaps to invite your imagination as doors opening on your own cathedral of your view and understanding of the ancestors. And the beauty of the traditions, perhaps, that shared their experience, that you are now a carrier of that ancestral knowledge, like the Dakini lineage. This is very old. This is timeless. No beginning, no end. I feel my hair stand on end when I speak to the Dakini in you, all of you. the ancestor, the prima materia, right? The nutritive ash from which all is born. Ancestry. Saying thank you here today because I honor the ancestors. We honored the ancestors, and we did it with, 35 people coming together under a full moon, and the beautiful honoring, offering herbs and offering resins, and allowing themselves to put their hands on their belly and their heart to feel their emotions, whether they were sad or they were glad or they were mad. Yeah. And then another ceremony saying thank you to the ancestors, but the alchemical vessel. And 100 people shaking it up, shaking their bones, dancing with the ancestors. How do I feel it? Sometimes you gotta shake it, right? That blackening stage. Only to purify and la coagulation to have an honest conversation with yourself, with your ancestors, with the future. Thank you for what you do here and now, ancestors who speak through these beautiful women who are viewing, who are speaking, who are movement itself. The teaching in the movements itself. Teacher, object. Teaching the living essence of ancestry that is you. That in every movement that you do teaches me. I've heard enough. This is good. This is interesting. No, this is not good. This tastes good. Every motion, ancestral knowledge, gifted. Every motion. And so these alchemists shaking their bodies, moving it, and then saying, good morning to the sun. Thank you, my ancestors. I have danced with you through my process, that you might allow your process, that we might be at one with the sun and all. And to move from that very beautiful feeling that moved all the way up the container, through the cycles, right? Life, death, regeneration. To end up at the end of the month, on the actual 31st, what people like to say, Hallows, Halloween, Samhain, many names around the world, okay? This season of moving into a fallowness, a stillness, a thinness in our ability to comprehend. It expands. That veil thinning that we all honor at the time of death, the transferring of consciousness, the transferring of knowledge, the tormas, living tormas, living knowledge of heart's truth, ancestral lineage. So I say thank you for that. And the final ceremony resulting with the number 8, the wheel of the year. Small, held specifically at the Kali Rose fire pit, saying thank you to Kali Rose and the deep, deep work and the ancestral knowledge she offers every day to that who remembers, right? That which remembers lives forever. Is that the ancestral? Is that one of the offerings? We remember, and so it lives. Want to introduce you to the primary ancestor here. We call her Abuelita. She is one of the largest, one of the oldest. 3-pillared grandmothers. Her roots are very deep. Her branches are very high, very strong. They also say, hey, grandchild, remember my limbs are very heavy when you're walking beneath them. This grandmother, her roots go so far down, they hear water. Cottonwoods hear water, and the roots follow the water. The roots of my ancestral line, the roots of what we call lineage, like these deep roots of water knowing, continuously pulsing into this life knowledge, the ancestral knowledge. This strong, strong base holding up these big limbs. They crack. Do you know that they tell you, the ancestors, as they are falling apart, as she is teaching us how to live, to move in the wind, the strength of the roots, the peoples we come from, the lands we were born with, the branches of understanding, consciousness. If you cut that tree, all you have is fuel. You have dead roots. You have broken branches. So this ancestor is really beautiful and teaches us that honoring the life cycles, the full life cycles, the roots of our family, the lands we come from. This is a part of the foundation of our being, as we are the action and the activity of that voice and that knowledge, as we are planting the seeds for those branches and the flowers to come. Your voice. Thank you, ancestors. Thank you, Genevieve. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, Judith, Diane, Letty, Lisa, those who are on this call. Thank you all of the beautiful beings I feel connected through these zeros and ones. The ancestors, here, we honor the breath that you carry, which is the breath of the ancestors, the breath of the future. And the only expression that we, at least here, have learned to honor is here and now. Can't live in the past. Future is nice, but if we're the expression now, then we dance, we shake our bones, we make food, we love, we say thank you, we say, I'm so sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. Right? Oh, and thank you, Ho'olaolea and Ho'oponopono, and Kumu Dorinda Puanani Burnett for those 4 statements, lines, and was taught to me through Namea Hawaii Hula Hala. I just want, and she transferred consciousness 3 years ago. And so I invite her in to say thank you with all of you. How do we think personally what the word ancestor means? Vicki showed us a lot of beautiful places and spaces that are very clear images that we as a people, we as beings, have an internal brilliance of knowledge of the life-bearing divinity in precious, precious earth form. So I believe it is 10 o'clock, and I would like to offer, as I close, just invite you to take a really big breath in, really, and let it out. And if you could also, I invite you to just move your body in your chair because you've been there for a moment. And I say thank you, Areeya, for the time and the space, this place of grace, to express in a more poetic way. That's part ceremony, part art, and always about this beautiful Mother Earth and all the living things and how we honor the ancestry of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Areeya, and thank you for introducing us to your ancestor tree on the land where the Sekhmet temple is. We are so happy to have you with us. So let me just double check and check in with Vicki. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we actually open up to questions? And I'll check in with Jen also.
Well, I've been following someone on Instagram, Stella Porta. I really like her. She's really making good historical posts about she's revitalizing our real history. And I appreciate that so much. She says, in Old English, weird meant fate, the unfolding of what has been and what will be. From it came the weirding woman, a title for those who could read the threads of becoming. Only later did weird come to mean strange, as women's prophetic arts were written out of memory. That's probably enough. These roots show how deeply ideas of magic, connection, and binding were woven into feminine practice. And then she goes on to talk about what the transition, thou shalt not suffer a witch to live, comes right out of the Bible. And we remember our own European Holocaust when we talk about the witches, because the women shamans, the peasantry, the pagans, the earth people in Europe were really almost obliterated. A large part of the population, mostly women, were obliterated in the medieval period. And then we had the Renaissance, and the Enlightenment and all that. And here we are. So those of us who are here from that lineage, those mothers, those grandmothers, are the ones who survived the burning of so many millions of women in the medieval period. And it's a Holocaust that has gone kind of unexamined by the larger culture. So I always, when we remember, we're remembering a very sad heritage, but here we are, and it's sort of it's a little silver lining. Here we are, somebody survived. Let's keep that light alive. Let's never, ever forget those ancestors. And of course, that's repeated in so many places. The Inquisition went to North America next, after getting rid of practically all the witchy women in Europe. They went to North America and did the same thing to the native people. And it was all the same arm of the Catholic Church. So they really should be apologizing. That's all I'll say. Happy Halloween.
Yeah, I look forward to that apology for sure, Vicki. um, Jen, did you have anything you wanted to offer before we actually open up to questions? If you could unmute, that would be fabulous.
Okay, yeah. Well, they actually are apologizing. There's a group of nuns, Catholic nuns, who are giving back the land that they had from the church. They're giving back the land to the native people. So that is a recognition that they had taken it away and now are giving it back. And I think maybe that's the beginning of a flood of change. But what I really wanted to say is that we're talking about perilous times now. And I feel an obligation to the ancestors to continue life on Earth and to make it easier for our offspring and the future generations to live, and without destroying the capacity for their well-being. And that's about the environment, but also, what about the psychological and the moral environment that we're in now? Our ancestors our foremothers tried to bring us up. They struggled to bring us up in many different places and environments so that we could continue, and our future generations, our children, could continue. And look at what kind of a delicate moment this is, because maybe that won't happen, and we're destroying what they produced over generations. It's so terrible, and there has to be a way of both honoring them, receiving their gifts, and continuing. And I mean, for me, I love the joy of life. That's one gift I was given, is to appreciate the world around me and other people. And what would happen to us if this is gone? I mean, it's just an amazing moment, a perilous moment indeed.
Yes.
And let's hope that we can be wise as our ancestors, many of them were, and some of them were not, that in order to be able to continue life.
Thank you, Jen. Vicki, did you have something you wanted to offer now?
No, I just said, blessed be.
Yeah,
May
blessed
life
be.
It's a miracle if we can get through this moment.
Yes. Well, what is our other option, Vicki? If we can't get through this moment, then
Extinction.
Extinction. And, I think it's so valuable and important to actually make this deep connection that you, Vicki, have brought the history from all of the most ancient times, for the ancient ancestresses, our ancient mothers, to what Areeya is offering as a remembrance to connect to the land physically in the United States. And this is happening all over the world, where you can find places where you can create sanctuary in these perilous times to recommit to actually do the actions that are necessary, that Jen is inviting us to do. We can't just keep going on empty. We need to actually have this time of rest and give our nervous system the opportunity to regenerate. Otherwise, we do actually drive our own personal extinction, because we're so out of balance and out of ill health. So these perilous times, I do believe, are inviting us to become more aware of what it means to be a human being. And that means understanding how your body works so that you can nurture it and sustain it to do the work that you came to do. No one else can actually do that for you. They can support you in doing it. But if your body breaks down, you can't do the work you came to do. So, let's just really rest into that. On the wheel, what Vicki is inviting us to remember is this time of this cyclical nature of the death and going under, resting so that we can actually come up. Now, this is not saying that you need to do, go with this solar year, but you need to somehow allow yourself to get good sleep, get good food, get the sun, and exercise of what Areeya is inviting us to do. You know, most of us are in our little boxes on the screen, and Areeya's invitation to be outside and to get out on the land and know your spaces is just so important to really allow the self to be able to feel the experiences of both the death, the rest, and the renewal. We need to be able to do that and have the practices to do that. Otherwise, and here's the other thing, we cannot do it alone. We must do it with others because we need the numbers to be able to turn the tides. Jen, did you want to say more?
I just want to say we need to also help other people. It's not just helping ourselves, which is good because we need to be healthy, but we also need to give to other people and help them do whatever they need to do in these terrible times. So.
Absolutely. I just assume my roots are Filipino, and we have an experience of kapwa, which is the self and the other. And I never extend myself without extending the other. There is not a self without others. So there's never an individuation, there's never a separateness. Indigenous people all over the world have the same sense of self that is not familiar in the Western world. The Western world is very individualistic. And when you actually assume that you're helping yourself, that you're helping just you. I assume when I say myself, I'm helping the world because I cannot extract myself from the world any more than I can extract myself from the different layers of beingness, where the veil is thinnest. Filipino people are animistic. It means that we feel the experience of life in many dimensional time, space, and realities, sometimes concurrently. So, yeah, Jen, absolutely. We must help others. And, it's just really, really important. It's one thing that I have experienced is seeing that people don't know how to quote, I'm putting it, I feel like Nixon in air quotes. We are having to fast track learning, not about community, finding a community, but how to be community. People are seeking community, but they don't know how to actually be together with other people. And we can only have peace if we be together with other people in peace. So thank you, Jen, for bringing that up because it's so important. Yes, more from Jen.
Okay, excuse me. Yeah.
Yes, no.
I think it's also capitalism and patriarchy that keep us separate from each other because we're taught that we're supposed to exploit other people in order to get what we want. We're not, instead of helping other people, we're hurting them in order to be the one that survives, I suppose, or one that gets what they need. So we need to change that paradigm also.
Yes. Yes. I say yes to all of that, Jen. we really absolutely. Let me just check in with Judith and see if Judith has a question for us.
There's a quick question for Jen, and then some more detailed ones. The quick question for Jen, somebody asks, where is it that the nuns are returning the land?
Oh, gee, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the place.
I'm actually putting a link in the web. Yeah, Janet.
Have you got
yeah.
that? Okay,
I'm putting a link in the website, in the chat right now, where you can learn more about it. They're actually having a program on the 17th of November. And it says Making History Behind the Scenes of Historic Win for Land Justice. And this is what they call themselves, the Nuns, Nuns, and the Nones, Nones, who are working with Indigenous women from the Haudenosaunee and basically returning the land to women to actually do the work from these Indigenous communities. And so, yes, yes, yes to all of that. Rematriation is what they're calling it.
Something along those lines is that Pat McCabe, who's part of our network, and others that I don't know who they are, but there's a group of people that for years have been working on a project to get the Pope, I think, or to get the Catholic Church to apologize to the Native people. So it's a start. And I don't know where they are in that process right now, but I know that that was actually happening a few years ago.
I think they've already done it. I think it's happened already.
It has happened.
I think so.
One of the things that Pat McCabe attempted to do, and the initiative is to rescind the papal bulls that have to do with the doctrine of discovery. So they haven't yet done that. And if they did, then that would be like the full apology. What's the definition of apology? Apology is saying you're sorry and then changing your behavior. So getting rid of the papal bulls would be an absolute change of behavior. All right. Any other questions? Judith?
I'm not quite sure how to formulate this as a question. I love the concept of expanding the concept of ancestors. I'm used to naming my genetic ancestors. I am Judith, daughter of Esther, daughter of Mary. And then Carol Chris extending it to spiritual ancestors. Daughter of Elizabeth Cady Stanton, daughter of Jocelyn Gage, daughter of Maria Gimbutas, and adding spiritual sisters, sister of Genevieve, sister of Letitia, sister of Areeya, sister of Vicki, sister of all the other women who've done our salons. And I love the idea. Vicki has now added the ancestors who made all of the wonderful arrays and figurines that she showed, and Areeya adding all of the natural ancestors and the trees and the animals and the sun and moon. So I'm not quite sure what how to formulate it as a question, but I really like that as a expansion of who we should practice gratitude toward.
Areeya, did you want to respond a little bit to that, maybe, to start us off?
Let me see if I'm gonna see if I understand where we're going. The question, Judith, you said it wasn't quite a question. It was more expanding on the concepts of there being more than what we traditionally are taught. Like our blood lineage. I am the daughter of. I am the. Is that correct? Okay, all right. When we really we have a beautiful space to provide for learning here, and to allow people to have a structured chrysalis that allows people to find their way with some guides, but to not be told what to do, to not be told who their ancestors are. Who am I to say to anybody who their ancestors are? Really, who am I? That's for them to feel, to see, and to resonate. If I am a carrier of a specific lineage, yeah, Lohan Shaolin specific lineage, that is a part of my ancestry. All of you. Now, Judith said, interesting, sister Areeya, sister Vic, sister. That actually makes a lot of sense to me. I can feel that in my body when she says it. So to open up more possibilities of our ideas of ancestors here, it actually does entail people taking care of themselves. And people taking care of themselves in the Western world is selfish, straight up selfish. Unless it's in the name of self-care or you're helping somebody to keep from being out of their body. Now that there's a fractalization that is so vast, of what these amazing living creatures can do, the infinite knowledge. We go by what organizations, large organizations, have formatted. This is your body. How do you know this is your body? Have you massaged your body? May I ask all of you, quite frankly, when is the last time you put your hands on yourself? Anywhere, right? How are you going to know? I'm offering this from a space of honoring my ancestors has to do with the care of this body, understanding I come from a soldier's line, also a grandmother line. Can you imagine grandmother soldiers? Wow. So the soldiers that were the males mostly, and then the women were nurtured by the mother, the grandmother with 8 children. They had very strict ideas of what ancestors are. They have to do with the church. They have to do with being highly melanated, coming from the South, what the church means. So even the act of giving and receiving, and this experience is very linear. It's not fleshed out. It's flat. It's like a flat picture. How do you blow air into it, right? Make it more full. Well, we possibly move a couple of the very, very firmly embedded ideas of how things work, especially those ones that come from that first 7 years, right? The ones that are hardest to move, that are ancestral, they are, could it be environmental? So therefore, ethical? What's the ethical ancestry? What's the environment that somebody was brought up in? I have the grace to walk every day in a place that is actually very hard in many ways. It's very hard. The ancestry of the land is very, very loving. It speaks. So the idea, Judith, thank you for at least offering space to move our ideas of what we are currently in modernity, how people have offered. This is person was born of this person, was issued of this person. That is what I'm saying thank you to. That is how I'm honoring my line. Whereas, yes, like when I think I saw someone mention when we see our children dance, we see their ancestors dance, right? When I see people around an alchemical fire ceremony dancing, I don't see just them because I don't want to see just them. I've had to, day by day, rework, rewire my own understanding of what ancestry means. to find my way, to say thank you to the lineages that taught me very specific things. I honor the Lohans. I honor Shaolin. I honor Goddess. I honor my grandfather, my grandparents. And quite frankly, I love that, and it feels very human-centric. Where is Mother Earth in this conversation? Where is the living with, breathing with, being with Mother Earth and all the living things? So these are questions I ask myself daily. When I ask these questions of you, please understand these are questions that daily come in, that in my thinking is my answer is asking me to expand.
Thank you, Areeya. Vicki, did you have something else that you might want to offer to the comments that Judith mentioned earlier? You can unmute if you do.
I thought she summed it up very gracefully.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. I
Letty,
did.
may I,
Yes.
Letty, may I just add one thing?
Yes, Areeya.
Thank you for providing this learning atmosphere, because in the workings here, the ancestral work, it is learning. And when I'm offering the understanding that our knowing, our understanding of what is ancestor has great potentiality to flesh out. And I would just wanted to offer that taking care of ourselves, knowing how our brains work. What are these two hemispheres of the brain? A part of our prayers with the ancestors was honoring, saying, thank you, thank you, thank you for helping move through my hands. Thank you for the full activation of the 12 nerves to this brain. Thank you that I know there are 12 nerves to this brain. In the knowing of how these bodies work, in the feeling of them, really pull this potentiality of a inner language and a dialogue with ancestry that I think is, wow, amazing. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Areeya. I wanted to just say to Patricia, I put a comment in the chat that is answering your question about if there is, what is the basis of Africa being the only place humans originated as a theory. And I want you to understand it is a theory. There are other theories. The out of Africa theory is the main and most popular theory that people work with. And you can see by the research that's being done and the archaeological evidence that's being found that we are finding more pieces of beings that are 70,000 years old that are piecing together a bigger story, which I think is just beginning to come together. And I don't know, Vicki, do you have any other comments to Patricia's question? Is it was talking about living where she is living with a tribal people in Canada, BC area, and that she has the impression that my Sami ancestors also insist that they did not come out of Africa. What is the basis of Africa being the only place humans originated? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, there are, they're pushing dates back in so many different places, back to 50,000 years, back to maybe 70,000 years. But the out of Africa DNA, the DNA studies have just really grounded or anchored these theories, both the out of Africa theory, because the the process of showing up on other continents and everything happened so early, 100,000 years ago. And so then the DNA studies and evidence shows that we're all related. Um, that's probably an overstatement, but that's my limited integration of the ideas I've been reading about, is that fundamentally there's some way that they're showing us what the spiritualists have been telling us our whole lives. We're all related. And I like the way the evidence. I'm not crazy about science all the time. I think it's a religion, and that it does a lot of damage. But I love how it's beginning to anchor some of these ideas in what seem like pretty undebatable, factual, evidence-based ways of understanding. And then Gimbutas, her material from old Europe, it's much more recent. Her stuff is the archaeological stuff is from, let's say, 8,000 years ago. And so the thing that impresses me the most is in thinking about matriarchy and our matriarchal origins, which I believe in absolutely, is that we were matriarchal for such a long time. I think that's the most important or the most impactful thing that I've learned in my research is that we were matriarchal for such a long time. It's who we are. It's in our DNA. It's in our what we call racial memory, but not meaning races, meaning our inhabitation of this planet for how long, and especially as modern humans, Homo sapiens sapien. We could argue about how wise we are, but anyway, the fact that we've been in matriarchal social organization up to 5,000 years ago, that's what matters to me. Because 5,000 years in the overall scheme of things is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket. It's an eye blink. And I think it cannot be held as permanent. We aren't patriarchal, aggressive, violent, male dominant species. We're having some sort of weird aberration that is very unfortunate and very damaging. And at this moment, it seems to be having an incredible crescendo around the world. The kind of the mayhem, the way that men are schooled to be violent. What did Hegseth called it last week? The warrior ethos. We need the warrior ethos again in our men. Well, no, we don't. And it's, really problematic, but how interesting he's naming the patriarchal process. But remember, it's so brief. And somehow that gives me, I don't know if it's hope, it gives me faith. I feel like our regenerative capacities, the regenerative capacities of nature, of the earth, of our bodies, that means anything can happen. Anything can happen. Spontaneous remission, we call it. We need a spontaneous remission of patriarchy.
Blessed be.
Get it out of the body, we need. And I'll just say one very weird thing. Recently, everybody's a lot of people are very focused on this object that is moving through the solar system. Are you aware of it, everybody? And I'm not all into extraterrestrial kind of fantasies and stuff, but when I read about it and heard about it, I thought how interesting. They don't know what it is. It's different. It's not a comet. It's a thing, it's an object, it's moving. And the other two times it's happened, apparently, the object has come in from a different angle into the solar system and kind of passed through. And in this case, it has come in, you might say, sort of sideways. It's on the flat plane of the solar system. And so it's actually, and it flies faster than anything they know how to understand. And so that's what makes it unique. And makes it a mystery. There's a mystery happening right now. This thing is moving through the solar system and passing all the planets. It just passed Mars, and they don't know what it is. So a part of me said, "Ah, how wonderful! Maybe we'll have an intervention." We need an intervention at this moment, you know. And in naturopathy and naturopathic healing, we understand you do something, you make some sort of intervention in the sick body, and then you back off and let nature take its course, because the understanding is that nature wants to return to a place of harmony and balance, and it has urges to do that. And so we stimulate it by adding something from the outside. In my case, I did hands-on healing for such a long time. And then we see what happens. And so anyway, who knows? But I think it's wonderful that something is happening that nobody understands. And right away, you know, the mainstream scholars, or whoever they are, the influencers, they start worrying about it, you know, like it's gonna, well, if that's really true, if it, you know, if it comes from somewhere, then we're in trouble. And I think the opposite. Whoa, come on in. we need we need something to stimulate a spontaneous remission of patriarchy.
Yeah. Thanks, Vicki. Yeah, absolutely. And Genevieve says, let's hear if Lisa has any comments. So, so Lisa Hayes has joined us. She wasn't on at the beginning. So, Lisa, did you have any comments or questions to either one of the or both of the speakers that you wanted to pose, or that you might have seen in the chat or
Yeah, the out of Africa from my studies, and I'm still studying. I'm understanding the the mitochondrial cell leads us back to the first African woman that, to me, populated the earth. I'm still studying because there's a lot of African American history that has been buried. And so we don't know these stories and connections. So, as well as African. So we're finding the stories now. And so that there's a very clear, and even though whatever we find out, in my opinion, we only have here and now, and all of our ancestors, which I love, that includes the nature. That my niece is the first one to turn me on to understanding our ancestors as nature. She called it, there was a word, it was a hybrid of the nature and ancestors, like nature sisters. I forgot what it was, but it was so cool. I was like, I got to remember it again. But it reminds us that we are interconnected, and we have to go together or we don't go at all. And we've been circling in on our own individualism and who does what, and ego has been centered. But the answer is actually the opposite. So it doesn't matter what flies by, because we're all together. The universe is us. We are the universe. And so uh I I I got too much to say, so I'm not saying too much. Because there's all kind of strings about, you know, my own religious searching, and how I was looking for, when I met Jen in the Foundation for Compassion Society, I was trying to figure out, well, maybe God was a woman, you know. So I had gone through that back in the 90s. So you know, there's all these other things, but I just want to just pitch in there that keep doing the research, keep looking around. Um, and usually our intuition, in my opinion, leads us. That thing that allows me to speak with my ancestors in the universe is within me. And when I'm quiet enough, I can hear. And that helps us, so that's all I got to say about it.
Yeah. Thanks, Lisa. All right. Yeah, I just want to make a point about DNA. Our studies really only go back about 200,000 years, but the history of humans goes back millions of years of our species. So the more that we actually find evidence back, and this is the benefit of science, or some people say the rigidity of science, that the more that we have information, the more that the theories change. And that's basically what the multi-regional theory is about. The theory is about going back to the millions of years of the human species, identifying it as one species itself with all of these little branches, where now they're saying that these are different branches that are not connected, and that's also not true. The other thing is that one of the things that we've discovered through science, validating mythology and folklore of Indigenous people, is that they're more accurate and correct now than we have ever understood them to be. So it may be in the years to come, as we find more evidence and can find more ways of determining peopling of the planet, we will validate all of the stories of all the indigenous people, the Sami, the European people, the Filipino people, and everyone. So that's what I'm hoping, is that, these are oral stories that have been kept by the people who themselves rose from what they consider their own land. And all right, so enough about DNA, enough about science. Let's go back to the season and really this perilous time, because I think Jen had an inspiration and a desire for us to be able to, connect to our ancestors so that we could sustain ourselves during this perilous time. So let's check with Judith and see if Judith has a question that may have come out of either the comments or the Q&A. Judith?
There's a question from Eva. She says the name for woman in Irish is, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Mna. It's M-N-A with an accent. And she wonders if there's a connection between that and the first temple in Malta.
I have no idea, but what a great place to start.
I see that Mary Condren is in the is sitting with us today in the audience, and she might know if there's any connection. Mary, if you do know, if you might want to offer anything in the chat, that would be wonderful. But yeah, it's a great place to start.
Research question.
Yep.
And it makes me think about, this isn't quite right, but it makes me think about Christina Biaggi's wonderful big book, connecting Malta with Skara Brae in Scotland, in the north of the British Isles. And so that there may very well be some linguistic connection. Who brought that up?
Let's see. It's in the Q&A. It was Eva Reveling.
Nice. Great question.
Yeah.
Menaipa is the temple in Malta. MNJ, I think. MMM. Anyway, good place to start.
Fabulous. All right. Jen, did you want to say anything more about this perilous time and how our foremothers may inspire us to do what needs doing right now? You need to unmute, my friend.
Well, yes. I guess my ancestors gave a lot to me or blessed me with a lineage of good people, I think. And maybe that is what gave me a capacity for joy and love of life. And I just feel an obligation to them. Maybe we should feel obligation to our ancestors to not destroy the earth. Maybe that would supply us with the motivation. Many of us already have that motivation, but there are many that don't seem to have it, and that's what's causing this perilous times. And many of our leaders actually do not seem to have that. So it's a question of, I don't know, converting our leaders or something, which is like a total impossibility. So I really don't know. I mean, I'm questioning, I'm asking.
Mm-hmm. I think perhaps sometimes people have an aversion to the use of the word obligation because it feels like a burden. And I see obligation differently. I see obligation as a responsibility. And that's the way I hear you talk about it, Jen. It's our responsibility to our ancestors, both the ones from the past and the ones who are coming forward, the new children being born. We have an obligation to do something now. Now is the only time that we can make a difference. We can't change the past, and we can't, well, I shouldn't say can't, because I really don't know what kind of crazy things these scientists are doing these days. But um, generally speaking, we can't easily change the past, nor can we actually step into the future and manipulate the future. So we have to feel the connection here, which Areeya and both Vicki and Jen also have said. Now is the time for us to make those choices, to be connected to our ancestors as a responsibility out of love, out of love, not just for our lineal ancestors of our ancestry, but for the whole planet, as Areeya and Jen also always talks about. And maybe, Jen, we could ask you for your song at the end, right before we, when I, for you to sing that song for us to connect. Is there something else you'd like to say, Jen?
I had something I wanted to say, but I've forgotten it.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What about you, Vicki? Any last words before we actually begin to close out?
Well, what I was thinking just now in listening to everything is that we're so inside of capitalist patriarchy, and we all know that. We talk about it all the time, but in such a big way, that's the thing. I mean, it's sort of that or our extinction. Because they aren't stopping, what I think about when I think about why people aren't more responsible, why are we not doing more? I think about how the chemicals for 50 years have affected us, and how the bad food that a lot of people are still eating, really bad fast food that's full of carcinogens and so on. It's more than that, it's the conglomerate of all those things, the the forever chemicals in the water, the estrogenic chemicals that have bonded with the water. I'm breathing air from the ocean. It's so glorious, it's so clean and wonderful, except it's full of all that stuff that's in the ocean. We're breathing it, we're eating it, it's just everywhere. I haven't drunk tap water for 50 years, but I bathe in it. you know, we're all, what's the word? We're infected, we're contaminated by all of these ongoing problems that come from the petroleum industry mainly. And all that's happening is that they're going after it faster. They want to get more faster, almost like they're racing to get as much extracted from the planet as they can and make as much profit as they can before it's completely destroyed. And so I feel bad for humans right now. You know, I just feel like we don't even know, most people don't even understand how food and chemicals and all of that, the industrial agriculture problem, you know, we've been talking about these things for 50 years, but not much has happened because the corporate sector is so powerful, and the brainwashing and the advertising and all of that is just a constant inundation. And so most people who aren't political in a conscious way don't notice, or don't, I don't know, we just don't understand we don't understand cause and effect as a people. We don't understand our own karma. So this is our karma coming back on us, you know. Somebody said to me recently and got me thinking about this. Somebody said, well, what's our karma? I wish our karma would come home. Somebody said that. And I said, it is coming home. This is it. It's not pretty, but it is our karma. We did not change things. I've known all these things since the 1970s. And the information's out there, you know, and the thing about the estrogenic chemicals and that are in the atmosphere and in all the food and all the stuff, that information has been available to us since at least the 90s. But really, to go all the way back to Silent Spring, I mean, this information is out there. We humans seem to be en masse kind of stubborn, you know, and in denial and resisting the truth. And I'm really sad about that, because I feel like my whole life, probably your whole lives, have been spent trying to bring this message. If we just only educate people so that they know what they're eating, but it's not true, you know. And so there's some way that we're getting stupider as a people. Well, really, it's kind, and so to try to overcome it is a challenge. Is really challenging. And so again, you know, I just, when I think, oh God, we're doomed, then I think, well, on the other hand, you never know. You never know what can happen because of our incredible regenerative capacities. And so I just put my faith there, and I really, that's what I think could happen. And it keeps me from going into despair and living in despair because I don't think that's useful. And so I think it's really important to hold on to whatever little piece of possibility that each of us can find. And when the veil is thin, the ancestors talk to us. So this is a really great moment for putting it out there. You know, we're too stupid to figure this out. Please help.
And remember to listen.
Uh-huh.
Remember to listen for the answer, because some people just want to talk.
Yeah.
All right. Jen, did you have something else you wanted to offer right now?
Yes. And this is going to be what I'm talking about in the future and down in the next times that we have events. And that is that what I think the answer is that we are actually a maternal species.
Yes.
And we have overlaid on top of that both patriarchy and the market. And we need to get back to our maternal species. We're not mankind. We're a maternal kind. And so that is how we need to re-identify ourselves and act in accordance with that. That's a very small explanation of it, but it's what I think and I what I hope in.
It's what Buddhists
Thank-
call a pith teaching.
Oh, great.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Areeya, did you have last word that you might want to have before I close this out? We're getting to the top of the hour, and then we'll have Jen sing her song about Mother Earth.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Vicki, and Jen, and Letty, and all the amazing beings here. It's been very thought motivating and open up some new areas for me. So I appreciate that. And just really like to say thank you with the ancestors, a part of the seeing the sunshine in perilous times here is knowing people are doing their work, knowing people are doing their research, that they are actually responsible, that they look at themselves and say, I am capable. That is foundationally needed. Imploding and exploding because of fear and terror, okay, but it doesn't help me. It doesn't help the people that come in here. But you know what does? Reminding them they're whole, they are responsible, they are capable, that their bodies are a part of this Mother Earth, and she is brilliant. Your body is brilliant. The universe is brilliant. And when the prayers start with wholeness, acknowledging what we think is Beauty and the Beast, the ancestors, the parents within, a part of them. Thank you so much for all that you do. And I look forward to hearing your song. And I'm going to share a song with you another time, Genevieve, that the ancestors gifted to help my brain. And we sang that for the ceremony. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Thank you, Areeya. I really want to thank both of you, Areeya and Vicki, for being here today. This is, again, like it tugs at my heartstrings because I really miss you. I miss Genevieve, Areeya, Vicki, and I actually being able to come together, but our schedules have been so tight and we've been very, very busy. But I hope to see you all in a Zoom room, just us. Um, and I just want to thank you for your wise words, for giving us this arc of what our foremother history has been like. And for Jen, for your rallying cry to do something now. We must do something now. And I want to thank Diane for ever being this foundational support for us, this tech that we know she has got us. And Lisa, I'm glad that you could join us. Judith, thank you again for searching out questions and having your attention to the movement in the chat, because sometimes it's very, very difficult. And yes, I think of the ancestors today, and I'm just pretending that they're inviting you back to come in 2 weeks to join us again when we have another salon with Saturday, November the 15th. Diane has put a link in to register for salon number 88, the Nested World Initiative with Darsha Navarez and Lisa Reagan. These two women have been working tirelessly. Their field of knowledge and study has been to look at this evolutionary arc of what it means to be human and what are the elements to actually raise human being to thrive. And of course, at the center of that is the maternal human. So we are very excited to have them with us. Again, we invite you back November the 15th. Registration is also open for our 6th annual mini conference that will be highlighting the maternal human, November the 28th, which we hope to distract you from Black Friday shopping. That you will join us On Friday, November the 28th, with Genevieve Vaughan, Darsha Navarez, Sherry Mitchell, Pat McCabe, and Vicki Kashtan. And the focus will be all around this notion of the maternal human. All of you, and to all of your ancestors who are listening through this thin veil, thank you so much for being with us, both on the other side and here today virtually, and those of you who will be viewing this recording in the future. And Jen, if you would, please, we'd love to hear your song.
Thank you. Thank you, Letitia. Okay. Mother Earth, Mother Earth, we are grateful for our birth. For 4.5 billion years, you listen to the music of the spheres, while all of life's variety issued from your creativity. Mother Earth, Mother Earth, we are grateful for our birth. You're our planet, green and blue, with a heart of fire inside of you. May your life always increase. May we give you the gift of peace.
Oh, thank you, everyone. Look at that. The heart, my heart, just touched my heart. We'll see you in 2 weeks, everyone. Enjoy your time. Take really good care of yourselves, and thank you for all you do to make this world a better place. Peace out, everyone.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye,
And
everyone.
Genevieve, I know you're gonna record that for us, right?
Yeah, it's already
Oh yeah.
on the site. Yeah, it's for.
Thank you, Letitia.